Oh, hi there. I didn't see you there. I'm just reading a story about a panda that was a gift to a Japanese emperor, and now he's destroying your garden. This story is the game of Takenoko. To set up for the game Takenoko, first you need to set the water tile and the panda and the gardener in the center of your play area, as this is everything we will build off once the game commences. Then off to the side, you're going to set your land cards. These come in 3 colors, yellow, pink, and green. And then you're also going to want to set aside the objectives. These are what you'll need to complete to win the game. We have the red-backed cards, which are gardener. You need to grow a certain color of bamboo, a certain height to complete these. Then we have the pink panda cards, where you have to feed the panda certain colors of bamboo. And then we have the blue plot cards. You need to place land in certain configurations to complete these. There's also the Emperor card, but he's not used till the end of the game, so he can just sit to the side. You also have these blue sticks, which represent irrigation. These are very important in the game, so make sure you have all of those. And then we'll have the tile improvement cards, which are also important. These are blanks, they're not supposed to be there, that's okay. Then there's your die, which you'll roll at the beginning of every turn to determine the weather. And then all the different pieces of bamboo that we're going to grow and eat throughout the game. Each player also gets a card, a player card with their turn markers. And each player starts with 1 objective of each color. Once every player has these, you want to determine who goes first. And I recommend a battle royale. Hold on. Yeah? Okay. What do you mean I can't tell him that? Because it's illegal? Whatever, you're made up for the sake of this video anyways. Okay, so you can't do a battle royale. Probably just follow what the rulebook says and have the tallest player go first. Every player's turn begins with rolling the die to see which weather effect you get, after which you can take your 2 actions and possibly a third depending on your weather. Now before we get into the actions, let's talk about the different types of weather. The first weather we have is thunder. This scares the panda to any tile that you choose and he eats a piece of bamboo to feel safe. The next weather is the sun, which lets you take a third action as long as it's different from your first 2. Then there's the random, which lets you pick which weather you want to have on your turn. And then there's the rain, which grows a piece of bamboo on any plot of your choice. Then there's the wind, which will let you take the same action twice if you so choose. And then the last action is the clouds, which lets you take a tile improvement and use it at a future time. Once you've determined which weather you have, then you can take your actions accordingly. And we'll discuss each of them now. The first action you have is the land plots, which means you draw 3 and pick 1. So, back to our pile of land tiles here, we're going to take 3 and decide on which one we would like to pick. We have green, pink, and yellow as stated earlier. Some of them have tile improvements, which we'll go over here in a minute. But for this example, we'll just say we pick this pink one. We'll discard the 2, and then we'll place the pink one into play. Now to place a land plot, it has to meet these requirements. Since this is our starting watershed, you can place it directly to it without anything additional. But if you wanted to place another pink one, you could not place it here. You would instead have to place it here because of this rule here. If you wish to place a tile away from the water that's not on the immediate watershed, you have to place it against 2 tiles that are already irrigated. Now, being as these are touching the water, they are considered irrigated. This one we would have to get irrigation to, which is actually our second option. The second option, as indicated by the blue stick here, is irrigation. What that means is we have our blue irrigation sticks like we talked about in the setup. With this, you take 1 and you can either use it now or you can save it for later. How to tell if something is irrigated is achieved in one of 2 ways. As I said earlier, if they're touching this watershed, they're irrigated, nothing additional you have to do. But this yellow one is not touching it, so to be irrigated, we would have to place a water irrigation here and then follow it with another one right here. Once a broad side of the card has one of these irrigations on it, you can consider it irrigated. There is one exception to this, as soon as I find it. The exception being if a tile has one of these on it, or you place the tile improvement of this on it. This is considered to be a watershed and does not need any irrigation, regardless of how it is placed. The third choice you have is to move the gardener. And it's what he does when he moves is, one, he can only move in a straight line, meaning he can't move from here to this yellow because it's not straight, but he could go from here to this pink, or even this green if you wanted to. Now, let's move him here to this one. So since it's a pink, the pink would get a piece of bamboo, and any surrounding pinks would get a piece of bamboo as well, as long as they are irrigated. In this example, we do have irrigation, so this one would get some bamboo on it as well. The fourth choice you have is to move the panda. Now, the panda, like the gardener, can only move in a straight line unless you have the thunder weather, which we'll talk about separately in a second. So he can only move here or here. For this example, we'll move him here, and he eats one piece of bamboo. So you would take the bamboo that you just ate, and you would set it on top of your card here in the corner, because that's all the bamboo the panda has eaten, and you'll use those to complete objectives.
Hey guys, quick editor note. As I was editing this, it occurred to me I forgot to go back and tell you what happens when you get the thunder. So as I stated earlier, the thunder lets you move the panda to any plot where he eats bamboo. And what that means is you can move him to any plot. It doesn't have to be in a straight line like if you were to move him traditionally on your turn. Thank you.
The fifth option you have is to take an objective card of your choice. Now, as we discussed in setup, you start with 3, one of each. And let's say you want to add another one, and you can draw one of your choice from either the plot placements, the panda, or the gardener cards. And you'll just add it to your hand. In this example, we'll draw this one, which I'll explain in a little more detail because this card has a lot of things going on. And the last section on your card, I'm sure you noticed, is this section here, which has all the tile improvements on it. What this means is if on your turn you happen to roll this cloud, you can take one and either use it immediately or save it for later. So let's say we rolled the cloud, and we have our tile improvements we want to look at. The first one we have is the bamboo enclosure. This means the panda cannot get in there no matter what. Then we have the fertilizer. What this does is every time bamboo grows on this section, it would grow 2 pieces of bamboo instead of 1. Autofocus is killing me. Okay. The third and last one is the watershed, which allows a plot to be considered irrigated regardless of whether or not water runs to it. The goal of the game is to complete your objectives faster than the other players. The number of objectives you need to complete is determined by the number of players, but it varies between 7 and 9. Now, completing an objective does not count as an action on your turn, and you can complete it once you have all the requisites. We'll use this one here as an example of a plot objective. What we're looking for is 2 yellow and 2 pinks in this exact configuration. Now, going back to our made-up board here after the game's progressed a little bit, we can see we have this here because the yellows and the pinks are offsetting each other exactly as pictured in the diagram. If you're ever unsure if you complete this, just kind of place the card here and see if you have it lined up in that order. It is also important to note that all plot cards must be irrigated in order to complete this card. We have 1 pink that is 3 high, 1 pink that is 4 high, but it does not complete the objective because it calls for 2 pink that are 3 high. But if these 2 pinks were both 3 high, you could consider this objective completed. The panda objectives are completed by feeding the panda. For example, in this card, you have to feed the panda 2 green pieces of bamboo. Now, as you recall, any bamboo the panda eats is placed on your card here in the panda's stomach. In this example, as we said earlier, you only need the 2 pieces of green, which in this case we have, so we would just return these to the box and we could consider this objective completed. Some of the gardener cards may have special symbols, which determines the type of bamboo plot you would need to grow on. For example, this one here has the watershed tile on it, and it's green, so you would need to grow green bamboo 4 high on a card with the watershed improvement. For example, would be this one, or a green one you placed your watershed improvement on. And then there's others like this pink one here. This pink one asks for 4 pink bamboo on a fertilized plot. So you would grow 4 pink bamboo on a fertilized plot, and then you could consider that one complete. And same thing with this one almost. You need a 4 green on an enclosed plot to consider this one complete. And then there's this one, for example, which requires a yellow 4 high, but it cannot have any special effects on it. Once all players have taken their last turn, you count up the point value of your objectives. The player with the highest total wins and gets the Emperor card, which is worth 2 additional points at the end. It's kind of a way to add insult to injury because you already won by points, so you're going to win by 2 more at this point. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my video about how to play the game Takenoko. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you'll consider giving me a like if you didn't, but even if you didn't, give me a dislike. If you'd like to read more about what we have going on, please join us on the Facebook page. There's a link in the comment section down below that will take you there. And I've got a few other things lined up that are going to come up in the near future, different from just the typical how to play a game. So I hope you'll join me there and watch those videos and the comments and the discussions as they come out. Please consider subscribing.